Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to study the thyroid and anti-thyroid drugs. As you are aware from the knowledge of physiology that the thyroid gland contains two types of glands. One is the main thyroid gland and then there are small parathyroid glands. And the main thyroid gland secretes two iodine containing amino acids, that is triiodothyronine and thyroxine, which control the basic function of these is to control the mental and physical growth during the growing phase of body and then maintain lipid and carbohydrate metabolism throughout the life. And the parathyroid gland secretes a peptide called calcitonin, which maintains calcium and phosphorus metabolism and is the major hormone responsible for its action. So, thyroxine is synthesized inside the thyroid gland in these steps. The first step is the transport of iodide from the body, absorbed from the intestine in the form of iodide from food through a special transporter which is called iodide transporter. And then this iodide is converted into the elemental iodine with the help of peroxidase enzyme, thyroid peroxidase enzyme. You may notice that this here the iodide is shown with a negative valency and here is the valency is 0. So this is elemental iodine. This iodide taken up through the iodide pump is acted upon by the thyroid peroxidase and is converted into elemental iodine. This elemental iodine is then combined with the tyrosine residues inside the thyroglobulin to form monoiodotyrosine, diiodotyrosine, and when this monoido combines with a diiodotyrosine, it forms T3, and when two diiodotyrosine molecules combine, they form a T4 molecule. So, we were studying that the iodide is transported inside the thyroid gland with the help of iodide transporter and is converted into the elemental iodine with the help of thyroid peroxidase. And then this elemental iodine is combined with the tyrosine to form monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine, and these two in turn combine to form T3 and T4. And these are still the part of large thyroglobulin molecule which is present inside the thyroid globule. And this, through the proteolysis, these T3 and T4 are cleaved from the thyroglobulin and are released inside the blood, where they are where the T4 is again converted to T3 through reaction of deaminases in the peripheral tissues like liver, kidney, muscle, and different glands. So the steps are the take up of iodide, then the conversion of iodide into the elemental iodine, and the organification of elemental iodine to form MIT-DIT and their combination to form T3 and T4, and then this proteolysis of T3 and T4 from the thyroid globule, the thyroglobulin, and their release in blood, and then after in blood the conversion of T4 to T3, which is active form of the thyroid hormone. And these are the action of our drugs. This transport of the iodide from the blood into the thyroid gland can be blocked by the similar ions, the anions, that is thiocyanate and perchlorate ion, and then this organification of iodine into the thyroglobulin with tyrosine residues can be blocked by the iodides and thiamides, and this iodides also inhibit this proteolysis of the preformed T3 and T4 and their release in blood. And when in blood, this conversion can be blocked by the radiocompass media, beta blockers, corticosteroid, and amiodarone. So these are the anti-thyroid drugs. So thyroxine, mechanism of action of thyroxine is that T4 is converted to peripheral tissue T3 deaminases, And then T3 is the major effective hormone, which is almost 10 times more potent than T4. T3 binds to the intracellular receptors and controls gene expression for different metabolic processes according to the target tissue. The tissue in which it is working, in that tissue, the T3 binds to the genes, its receptor gene, and produces the messenger RNA and then the related proteins accordingly. Like in heart, it produces the sodium potassium ATPase proteins to increase the contractility of the heart. Then different in liver, it produces different enzymes, and likewise. This is all your knowledge from physiology. And then functions of the thyroxine include, on one hand, normal growth and development of the nervous, skeletal, and reproductive systems, and then the control of metabolism of carbohydrates, lipids, protein, vitamins. On the other hand, in a growing children or in a growing adolescent, the the normal growth is the function of thyroxine. That's why if thyroxine is deficient in a child, it produces symptoms of cretinism, which includes the mental retardation and stunted growth. While in an adult, it controls all the metabolism of the substances, and in adults, it produces, if the thyroxine is deficient, it produces symptoms of mixed edema. So the drugs acting on the thyroid gland, basically the diseases of the thyroid glands are of two types: hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. You may study the detailed symptoms and signs in physiology and medicine books, but the basic theme behind the hypothyroidism is basically the slowing of all metabolic functions, and likewise in hyperthyroidism, this is acceleration of all metabolic functions. That's why in hypothyroidism, there is intolerance to cold, there is weight gain, there is edema in tissues, there is moon phases, likewise in hyperthyroid, and there is loss of sweat. While in hyperthyroidism, there is excessive sweating, there is intolerance to heat because all the metabolic functions are accelerated and already in the body a lot of heat is being produced, and there is wasting of body, there is loss of weight despite increased appetite, and likewise. So basically this is the slowing of all metabolic functions, and this is acceleration of all metabolic functions. And the treatment of hypothyroidism is the replacement with thyroxine, while the hyperthyroidism treatment is with antithyroid drugs. So the drugs are divided into two groups. One used in the hypothyroidism, they are levothyroxine and liothyronine T4 and T3. And then there are drugs which are used in hyperthyroidism, which are also called antithyroid drugs, and they are thioamides, iodides, beta blockers, and radioactive iodine. So in hypothyroidism, when we are to replace the thyroxine hormone, so thyroxine is usually administered as in the form of T4, levothyroxine. T3 is available as, and this T4, when we give it by oral route, it is converted into T3 because T3 is the active hormone. T3 is also available as liothyronine, but the problem is that its half-life is shorter and it is much expensive. So we routinely use the T4, which is converted inside body to the T3, and it has got no specific toxicity, but the only thing to be cautious is that in older patients or in patients with very long-standing history of mixed edema, the heart has become sensitive to the action of thyroxine, stimulant action of thyroxine, because it is suppressed in a dormant, in a low metabolic state since a long time. So if in these patients we start the usual dose of thyroxine, which is 50 microgram per day, 2 tablets of thyroxine, levothyroxine comes in tablets of 25 microgram per tablet, and we start with a dose of 2 tablets, that is 50 microgram per day. But in older patients or patients in long-standing disease who have taken no medication earlier, if we give this routine dose, their heart is more prone to the stimulant action of thyroxine and may develop arrhythmias if starting at this high dose initially. So in these patients, we start with a low dose, that is 25 microgram per day, to make them accustomed to this action, and then we gradually increase the dose to the normal routine dose. So coming to the anti-thyroid drugs, the most common used drugs are thiamides. There are two compounds which are routinely used, methimazole and propylthiouracil. They basically inhibit the thyroxine synthesis by blocking the organification of iodine and peroxidase catalyte reactions. Peroxidase क्या करता है? Peroxidase जो है वो आयोडाइड को एलिमेंटल आयोडीन में कन्वर्ट करता है, and then there is organification of this elemental iodine into the thyroglobulin with tyrosine residues. So thiamides basically inhibit the organification of iodine and then the peroxidase catalyzed reactions. This is their major mode of action. A minor effect, especially of the propylthiouracil, is the peripheral conversion of the blockade of peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. So special point in the use of anti-thyroid drug is that since they inhibit the organification of iodine and the conversion of iodide into iodine, but they do not have any effect on the already prepared, the preformed thyroid hormone which is present inside the thyroid gland. So when we use thiamides, they block the synthesis of thyroid hormone, but they do not have any effect on the preformed thyroid hormone which is to be released. So in first few days, the preformed hormone is released and there is apparently no anti-thyroid action. Their anti-thyroid action takes almost a week to develop, so that the already present thyroid hormone is released, and then there is inhibition and so the decrease in the circulating level of the thyroid hormone. So they take almost a week to develop their anti-thyroid action. And regarding the pharmacokinetics, both are given by oral route. Methimazole has a longer half-life, is given once daily, while propylthiouracil is preferred in pregnancy. It is given 2 to 3 times daily, but this is preferred in pregnancy and lactation because it does not cross placental barrier and it also does not enter the milk, breast milk. So this is the preferred drug despite its doses per day. This is a preferred drug in lactation. And while in routine patients, methimazole is given because it has to be given only once daily. Both of these drugs are effective in patients with mild disease only. If the disease is more, then we have to either give radioactive iodine or to perform surgery. Toxic effects of the thiamides are routinely include skin rashes. Then the major reactions include vasculitis, agranulocytosis, hypoprothrombemia, and hepatotoxicity. Hypoprothrombemia means there is decrease in the prothrombin, so there is tendency to bleeding. So they are bleeding disorders, hepatotoxicity, agranulocytosis, and vasculitis. Then the next group of drugs is iodides and iodine. They are given in as two solutions. One is Lugol solution and potassium iodide. Lugol solution is a mixture of potassium iodide and iodine, elemental iodine. While potassium iodide mixture contains only potassium iodide. The major action of iodides and iodine is the blockade of organification of iodine and blockade of the release of thyroid hormone. If we can go to the previous slide, that iodides block the proteolysis and thus the release of thyroid hormone, preformed hormone, and the organification of iodine. So they also block the synthesis of new hormone as well as the release of the preformed hormone. So because they also block the release of preformed hormone, so their action is immediate. But the problem with their action is that in a couple of weeks, if we start these iodides, the effect is immediate. The thyroid hormone levels decrease immediately, and we get an immediate and good benefit. But in a couple of weeks, because they block the organification and release of thyroid hormone through a competitive mechanism, so the thyroid gland develops an escape mechanism which is called iodide escape from these iodides. So then, despite giving iodine and iodides, the thyroid gland continues its function and the thyroid hormone level returns to the normal or the previous level before the start of iodide. So we cannot give them continuously because the thyroid gland gets an escape from this hormone during a period of weeks. So they are used to treat the thyroid because of their immediate effect. They are very useful in treating the thyroid storm when we have to block the release of thyroid hormone immediately and to reduce vascularity and size of thyroid gland before surgery. So they have got two indications: either they are used for 1 or 2 weeks before surgery so that the gland may reduce in size, and in a patient with thyroid storm they are given to block the release of preformed thyroid hormone immediately. The adverse effects includes the rash, metallic taste, bleeding disorders, and anaphylaxis. Again, remember that these drugs cannot be given continuously because thyroid gland develops an escape mechanism from their action. So then there is radioactive iodine. As already told to you, iodine gets concentrated in the thyroid, and almost the whole of the iodine which you give gets concentrated in thyroid gland, and there is almost no effect on the rest of the body. And when this radioactive iodine concentrates in the thyroid gland, it produces local radiation and slowly it ablates the thyroid tissue, therefore producing the permanent loss of thyroid tissue. Though the dose of radioactive iodine is selected in such a manner that the whole of thyroid tissue is not supposed to be ablated, some of the thyroid tissues must remain to continuous normal function. But frequently, the hypothyroidism develops in these patients, and this patient has to take the thyroxine. This is the only drawback of this radioactive iodine, that most patients who take this radioactive iodine, they do develop hypothyroidism and then they have to take lifelong thyroxine. And since it is a radioactive compound, it should not be given to pregnant and lactating women. Then the next class is NI inhibitors, the compounds which inhibit the transport of iodide through the iodide pump. And these compounds have less efficacy and got more severe reactions like aplastic with perchlorate, so they are used only in for research purposes, not clinically. And then there are drugs which block the peripheral T4 to T3, and among them the beta blocker, the non-selective beta blocker propranolol is the drug of choice for thyroid storm. Its major action is that it blocks the CVS mediated effects of thyroxine, especially the tachycardia. So, which is the major symptom in thyroid storm, and at higher doses it also inhibits peripheral T4 to T3, like on doses higher than 160 milligram per day. So this is mainly given in the thyroid storm. In thyroid storm, we have two drugs. First drug is propranolol, which blocks the CVS mediated effects of thyroxine, and also in high doses blocks the conversion of T4 to T3. And then the second drug is Lugol's solution, which we have studied in iodide and iodine, that releases the preformed hormone from the thyroid gland. So it releases the release of hormone, and the propranolol blocks the effects of the hormone. So in mild thyroid storm, we may only give propranolol, but in severe thyroid storm, we may have to also combine the Lugol's iodine with propranolol. Then there are amiodarone and the iodine-containing radiocontrast media. The amiodarone is a commonly used antiarrhythmic drug, as you know, also called the broad-spectrum antiarrhythmic drug. It is effective in all types of arrhythmia, so that's why it is used a lot. So because of its excessive use, it it contains iodine, so it may produce hypothyroidism by blocking the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3, its one action. And then since it contains iodine content in patients who are prone to hyperthyroidism due to multinodular goiter or some inflammatory diseases of the thyroid, in those patients, due to its iodine content, it may also produce hyperthyroidism. So it may produce both hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism due to its iodine content or induction of inflammation. In patients in which the hypothyroidism produced, the treatment is replacement with thyroxine, and in patients where hyperthyroidism produced, the treatment is, if it is only hyperthyroidism, the treatment is with thioamides, and if inflammation is also related to hyperthyroidism, we may give steroids to reduce these inflammations. And we have studied in the diagram on the synthesis of thyroxine that corticosteroids also reduce the conversion of T4 to T3. And at the last, the iodine containing radiocontrast media, the contrast media, the contrast injections which are used in MRI and different radiological investigations. Some of those contain iodine, and these iodine containing radiocontrast media also block the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. Since they are given only once in for a very little period, so they may produce, their effect is not much significant, but you must remember that they may produce transient hypothyroidism. Okay? Since it is transient, so we need no specific treatment. But if a patient has received the iodine containing radiocontrast media and is presenting you with symptoms of hypothyroidism, you must know that it can be the result of administration of this iodine containing radiocontrast media. So summarizing the whole lecture, there are two types of thyroid diseases. One is the hypothyroidism and one is the hyperthyroidism. In hypothyroidism, we replace the hormone in the form of thyroxine, T4, the levothyroxine, and in the hyperthyroidism, we give the antithyroid drugs. In the antithyroid drugs, one drug is which gives permanent cure, and it is radioactive, but it may produce permanent hypothyroidism. Then we have three groups of drugs which give temporary relief. One are thioamides, which mainly block the organification of iodine with the blockade of conversion of iodine into iodine, the peroxidase reaction. And these are propylthiouracil and methimazole. And then there are iodide and iodine in the form of Lugol's iodine, potassium iodide solution. They block the conversion of the organification of iodine and the release of the preformed hormone. So that's why their action is immediate, but since their action is immediate, they are used in thyroid storm, but their action is not long lasting, because during some weeks the thyroid develops an escape mechanism from their action. And then there are the drugs which are used for some other diseases like amiodarone or radiocontrast media, but they do produce the disturbance of thyroid, and the disturbance produces treated accordingly. Thank you.